Men are stronger than women. One of the key areas where males evolved to be much more capable is fighting. So, why do we let people pretend otherwise? We see problems in sports with transgender players, with totally unrealistic scenes in movies, with military weakness, and with a loss of respect for the police. It seems like men have been too gentlemanly and kind, allowing this nonsense to spread. If there's one area where men should be standing our ground, it's physicality. Blokes with hairy balls shouldn't be competing against women in sports. Women aren't cut out for physical roles in the military, where the job is to overpower and destroy. And the police need men on the front line to intimidate and handle the bad guys. I've got plenty of issues with the feminisation of modern society, but surely we're capable of pushing back in this one area at least. Let's explore the differences between men and women when it comes to physicality and the problems that come from treating us all as interchangeable. Callum Mounsey is a famous Australian sportsperson who I knew at one time. I acted as landlord for my mother's property, which I rented out to him and a girlfriend when he was working at the National Zoo. Standing eye to eye, he was the same height as me, 6'2", but bigger. I'm a strong guy, but he was really built. He played handball for Australia, but what he's really famous for is being Hannah Mounsey, the transgender AFL player. Callum went to the other side shortly after moving out of my mum's house. He played in the local women's AFL competition and then controversially tried joining the National League. Ultimately, his campaign was rejected due to safety concerns, i.e. due to fears he might maim or even kill a female player. Amazingly, he's still allowed to compete in community-level footy despite protests. There are plenty more examples where men have been allowed to compete against women, at times with disastrous consequences. A female field hockey player had her teeth smashed in when a male trans athlete belted the ball into her face. Here, a transgender MMA fighter defeats his female opponent in less than a minute. Men clearly have physical advantages when it comes to sports. Women do better in a few areas, like gymnastics, where a lighter frame and flexibility help. They also perform well in some ultra-endurance events like marathon swimming. But in most sports, especially those involving speed, strength and power, men dominate. On average, men carry about 40% more muscle. The difference is especially obvious in the upper body, where strength is often close to double. It shows up in sprinting, lifting, jumping, striking, across the board, and it isn't just training. The male body is built differently: bigger hands, thicker wrists, broader shoulders, heavier bones. One study found that men deliver over 160% more punching force than women of the same size. That's structural. Men evolved to hunt and to fight. The body reflects that purpose. Brock Lesnar is just the extreme end of that spectrum. He's a reminder of what sheer male power looks like when it's unrestrained. A trained female fighter can beat an average man her size. But no woman stops a large, aggressive male, and the average man easily overpowers the average woman. Men physically dominate women because of core athletic traits. Military service is a serious endeavour, with no place for distractions like inclusivity and diversity goals. You simply don't risk people's lives and bodies by playing nice. That hasn't stopped countries like the US from opening combat roles to women over the past decade. Females have signed up but struggled. Attrition rates for women in initial training range from 11 to 72%. For men, it's between 0.5% and 18%. After years of lowered standards, the US Army introduced a single fitness benchmark earlier this year across 21 combat roles, including infantry and combat engineers. Everyone is now expected to meet the same requirements. That should have always been the case, but problems continue. In January, a Black Hawk helicopter collided mid-air with a commercial plane near Washington, D.C. 67 people were killed. The Army pilot, a female trainee, didn't respond to her instructor's command in the final 15 seconds. The investigation listed multiple factors, but that detail stands out. Growing up, some of my friends were obsessed with soldiers and war games. They'd set up toy armies, stage battles, and spend hours playing out conflict. I don't remember any girls being like that. Boys are drawn to war. It shows up early. We're wired for competition, for risk, for confrontation. Girls tend to focus elsewhere. The military exists to train people who can fight and win. That's it. Nothing else should get in the way. Police work is physical. It's not just about community engagement or paperwork. It involves confrontation, unpredictability, and at times serious violence. If you're on the front line, you need to be able to control dangerous people or survive until help arrives. But we've reached a point where hiring policies have lost sight of that. Women are now regularly placed in frontline roles that require strength and physical dominance, even when it's clear they don't have it. In Australia, footage shows two female officers walking away from a man they'd just spoken to. He follows them along the pavement, then suddenly charges, kicking one in the chest and throwing her down. Her partner steps in and is attacked next. The first officer backs off, calling for help, while her colleague is being beaten. Both were taken to hospital with minor injuries. The offender later fled and was arrested by male officers who brought him down without much trouble. In the UK, it's a man in his 60s. Two female officers approach. He shoves one into a hedge and punches the other in the face. She ends up on the ground, holding her hair as he yanks on it. The second officer leans in, applying weight, but they're stuck in a kind of gridlock. She calls for backup while her partner, pinned underneath, struggles and can't pass her handcuffs.
Get off!
Looking at these two examples, one offender looks like a regular guy, the other is an older man. One overpowered two trained officers, the other couldn't be controlled even with spray. He held one officer by the ponytail while she was on the ground, and her partner couldn't free her. If a male cop had done what these women did, backed away while his partner was attacked, or stood there unable to intervene, he might be called weak or even a coward. This is what happens when we prioritise appearances over ability. The result is officers who can't do the job. No one is expecting complete realism in the world of entertainment, but the constant depictions of women overpowering men are ridiculous. Genres like action, sci-fi and fantasy were never built on realism, but they used to at least respect physical logic. In recent years, that's gone out the window. What we keep seeing is the same message repeated over and over. Men are weak. Women are simply better, more skilled, more capable. It's reached the point where it's hard to ignore, and audiences haven't. Disney's obsession with this kind of messaging is one reason its share price has taken a beating. People aren't buying it anymore, and for good reason. Most men are happy to see strong female leads. That's not the issue. In moderation, it works. But now, female leads abound, and they all seem to be written the same way. Cold, flawless, dominant, and somehow always better than the men around them. There's no balance or contrast, just repetition. To make it worse, these characters often gain elite fighting skills with no training or backstory. They just show up, outfight everyone, and carry on like it's normal. If a female character is smart, nimble, tactical, great. If she uses tools, traps, weapons or strategy, no problem. That's somewhat believable. That fits. But when a very average-looking woman casually defeats multiple men in physical combat, it turns into a joke. Take Galadriel in the Rings of Power. A very normal-looking woman shown toying with a group of trainee warriors, most of them men, and making them all look useless. It's laughable. The point of the scene isn't to show her skill, it's to humiliate men. The finish has her rewarding the guy she just humiliated, as if to say, good try. And that's what it feels like across the board. These women don't grow into the role, they just arrive fully formed, already better than everyone around them. There's no effort, no struggle, and no reason to care. Feminists love this kind of fantasy, even in areas where men have a clear natural advantage, strength, aggression, combat. They still want women to come out on top. They need to believe the gap doesn't exist. But it does, and trying to pretend otherwise doesn't just make things fake. It makes the whole story feel delusional. It's not storytelling anymore, it's propaganda.